Danger, danger. The podcast you're about to listen to may contain spoilers, bad language, offensive themes, and material that is inappropriate for people under the age of 18. However, the podcast will definitely contain bad opinions. You have been warned. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Anime Abroad podcast. I am your host Tom, and I'm joined today by the lovely Cassie.
Hello.
And the lovelier Jonas.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I was expecting not so lovely, but that was
I'm
nice.
mending bridges. I'm mending bridges in a minute. Just so I can burn it again.
Wow.
So... I want to save what we're going to, like, the main topic of the podcast for, like, a big reveal, because we're going a bit edgy today, guys.
It's going to be the fucking title.
Oh, yeah.
Tom, you already said.
Oh, yeah, I did say the good thing about talking about sexuality in anime is we can make a really clickbait title. So,
you blew it.
Yeah. Oh, well. So we're going to be talking about sexuality and sexual themes in anime. Later in the episode, but first we're going to talk about what our hosts have been doing this week, and also ask the famous question of the week, which we'll see how that goes this week.
At least we know we'll never get worse than the Holden episode's question of the week.
Maybe.
It's kind of sad because so many people, the first episode they ever heard was the Holden episode, and that started off so badly. Holy crap.
No, actually, I think that it couldn't have been more perfect. I think people need to know. People need to understand the question of the week is the worst thing about this podcast, but we keep it because we need it. You take away the question of the week and everything else unravels. And this week's question of the week is, if you can choose between mastering an instrument or learning a language. You can only choose one. Which instrument would you learn, or which language would you learn? Cassie, I'll throw it over to you.
I'd pick the violin.
Nice. Very sophisticated.
Yeah. Well, violin, fiddle, either way. I just love the instrument. It sounds great. I like stringed instruments a lot. I did actually consider picking Japanese, because that means I could read all my Chinese picture books without them being translated, and that'd be awesome. But I think I'm actually just going to pick the violin.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking about picking Japanese as well, or like at least some kind of language.
Are you actually learning Japanese?
I'm learning Japanese.
Like wasted time. Yeah,
basically,
so you're just
like start. But like the thing is also like half the fun in learning languages is in making progress and realizing that like you can talk better than before now. Like that's half the fun to me, and just suddenly being perfect at it would just be boring, really. I'd rather learn it.
It would also negate hours of work you've done, which is like, you've only got so many hours in a life, so why would you actively negate them?
It's kind of the same for instruments, but for instruments you have at least, once you're perfect on an instrument, playing together with people is incredibly fun. So...
And you can always do new things with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You can write music.
Like, I'd probably go with an instrument, either the piano or the guitar, one of those two.
Okay, if you go, I was going to say, if you go piano and I go drums, then the three of us could play the Yamada Kun OP.
Okay, that's perfect. That's fucking perfect, right?
All right, there we go.
Although we could use a bass guitar, but we'll manage.
We'll get David to do that. We'll get David to do that.
I was actually going to go piano. That was so funny. When I heard this question, I was like, we're all going to pick languages, and it's most likely all going to be Japanese.
And then we all picked instrument.
The thing is, though, I was thinking about learning Japanese from a practicality aspect, and I was like, nah, I can watch anime without knowing Japanese.
I recommend it. It's really fun. And like, I've had this several times where I've read subtitles to something and I was just like, this isn't what they've said. Like, because it's so hard to translate it at times. Like, there's so many things you can't literally translate. Deal with
languages.
So, it kind of helps knowing some Japanese. It's not necessary, obviously. It's just a bit better understanding.
Yeah, and I'm not a language person either. But the thing is, I'm not a language person either.
I absolutely adore
I was
languages.
like always really good in school with learning shit and all that, and I could never, like, I just cannot wrap my head around learning another language. I've tried a few times, and it's just, I don't know what it is about it. It's like there's a brick wall in my head that's like, you're only going to speak English for the rest of your life. Fuck you.
When we say we're learning a language, are we implying that it's complete mastery of the language? Because I could really use a top-up on English.
I mean, it says fluently.
I don't assume it's, like, perfect.
Yeah, I assume it's, like, kind of like how I speak English, really.
Okay.
But if you picked English, your mind, like, if for the question, it'd be like a dictionary, and you'd be like, man, what's, like, a synonym for this so I can sound super fucking smart in this conversation? You wouldn't even have to Google it.
I'll know where all the commas should go.
Oh, God. I'd love that skill.
Oh, your writing would be flawless then.
Yeah, but I'm actually thinking now of what Jonas said. Like, I'm studying creative writing. I want to actually practice and get better. I don't want to cheat at it. So,
yeah.
I might actually play the bass guitar. The bass guitar suits my personality.
All the instruments to pick.
Yeah. The bass guitar suits my personality because it's got like fucking 2 buttons, 2 strings, which is easy as fuck.
It's got 4 strings. It's got 4 through 6 strings. Well, 2.
Okay. Oh, whatever. But it doesn't have many. It doesn't have many strings. Everyone wants the bass guitar. Like I don't know.
Since when does everyone want
that's not true.
That's not fucking true. No one fucking wants the bass guitar.
No, it's in like in a band.
Everyone makes fun of bass players.
Yeah. So there's a shortage of bass players, right? That's what I'm hearing.
No, because
I know. Bass to me always seemed like a really lazy and chill instrument, and that's my character. So
it's not actually. It's about as much as the drums not really as much, but like the bass guitar. I used to play bass guitar for a while, and like what's mostly hard about it is keeping the rhythm. Like whenever you play the guitar, it's not as important that you keep the rhythm. It's obviously just as still important, but like the bass guitar is just like the drums.
Jonas,
its main job is to lead the rhythm.
I got rhythm. I got rhythm, dude. I can. I have
no idea if you got rhythm. I've never seen you play the bass guitar.
I mean, we can. We can arrange something. We should just take all the instruments we say we're going to learn, get in a room, and just start fucking wailing on them.
Oh my god!
I've never played the piano before.
That's a new intro for the podcast. Okay. So let's move on. What have we been up to this week? I'm going to throw this over to Cassie first.
Why me first? I'm the most boring person here.
That's right.
Answering your own question, Cassie.
I went to work, I dealt with potatoes, I got drunk, and I played visual novels.
Cool. Oh. What VNs are you playing right now?
Gakthun of the Golden Lightning just came out on Steam, which I got super fucking excited about because it's been on my to-buy list for ages, but since I don't have a credit card, I have to go get like a temporary one, and I was gonna wait for Oz Mafia to come out, just get both of them at once, but then boom, it's up on Steam, and then I was like checking the reviews, and I was like, oh, that's cool, and apparently it was also completely uncensored, which I played it is. It's like, so Steam's not censoring their VNs anymore. That's also really cool if that's actually a thing. I thought that was like against their like what they wanted to do, but
Cassie,
apparently
you might just be grassing up a VN right now. What kind of uncensored are we talking about? Is this a game for girls or a game for guys?
I think it could go both ways, actually. Like, it kind of switches views between the two main characters. It's a girl and a guy. Mostly it's actually on the girl. Okay. And it's actually really cool.
That's also okay.
No, yeah, I don't know. I'm on chapter 4 so far.
Okay, so leading into our topic a little bit, like on a scale of Cassie, on a scale of 1 to 10, how hot? This is for the discussion.
All the characters are pretty attractive. I don't know. I'd give it like 7.5.
7.5. Okay, put that on Steam. We're going to make a Steam review page.
How hot is that visual novel? And I'll just rate it out of 10.
Yeah.
I'll get Hatful Boyfriend up there and I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
Nice. Okay. So this week I have given myself the colossal task of not only learning how to play Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition, but also learn to DM, make a campaign, and teach a bunch of my idiot friends how to play.
That's a lot to do.
Yeah. I'm making good progress. I feel like I'm...
But the good thing about playing with new people is that you can sort of fuck things up and just make it up as you go and still make it work.
Yeah.
I've never played D&D in my life, and honestly.
Oh, we can...
You're missing out.
I feel
I know. I want to play it, but...
There was talk about... I think I might just get you guys into, like, when I'm done with this campaign, like, get you guys through it. Because Cassie and David were very interested, so...
I'd be absolutely down for that.
I played a bunch of 3.5, so I'd probably pick up on it pretty easily, so... Yeah,
and I'll have practice. I'll have, like, got like, the mechanics into my head from playing with my my actual friends, so I'll be a bit sharper. But yeah, we can definitely do that sometime. That'd be a lot of fun.
So will that be the new podcast thing? Anime Abroad does D&D?
I mean...
Our new cop-out episodes? Like, shit, we didn't record this week and we have to put something out.
I mean, I'm just thinking, that's going to eat up all our recording time anyway, so we might as well record something and put it out.
Yeah. That might actually be a good idea.
RIP podcast, D&D. That's pretty much it. I'm still on... I've just gone back to work. It's almost the end of the Easter holidays. I work at 2 schools and they go back at different times. So next week I'll be back full time again. I'm just enjoying my last 1 week of half the work. But yeah, I had a good.
Speaking of you going back to work, I'm not going back to work.
Why are you not going back to work?
What happened, Jonas?
I was fired yesterday for a quite ridiculous reason.
Okay, before we get to that, where did you work?
I was working in a store, in a storehouse.
What
as in, I was just carrying stuff around. I was just packing stuff. Incredibly boring work. I fucking hated it. It's really just like means to get money.
Warehouse job.
Incredibly vital to the operation. This business will fail without you. I think
that's what people like to think about those jobs.
Yeah, but in Jonas's case, definitely true.
Absolutely. I can't imagine them going on without me again. After that 1 week. So what happened?
Go on, what happened?
It's basically time working. So I was employed at a time working company. And they sent me to this company where I was supposed to work in a storehouse. And it said Friday, and then the next week, Monday through Friday. And the last Friday was last week. And on Monday, I get a call. I don't know, actually, yesterday, so Tuesday, I get a call asking me if I was at work yesterday. And I told them no, obviously not. I'm not supposed to go to work anymore. I'm not working there. And apparently, I was told, apparently they gave me the wrong information, and I was supposed to work there for about a week longer. And I refuse to believe that someone actually told me this. And I still don't believe that someone told me this. It didn't happen. So I basically kept arguing with them until someone called me a little later to tell me I'm fired. I get a little mad at that, so...
Yeah.
That was quite fucking annoying. But yeah, I'm glad I'm gone from that place now, to be honest. I don't need to go back to storehouse working now. So
yeah, as far as I'm aware, I don't think you didn't like that job very much, right?
I fucking hated it.
Oh, you think?
I fucking hated it. Have you seen my Twitter recently?
I don't know if you follow the man on Twitter, but
yeah, it was quite painful, really. Not in terms of physically painful, but as in I was forcing myself to stay there and just do it and sit through it. I hated every second of it.
Yeah,
sounds like work.
Yeah, it was working.
sounds like the last 8 years of Cassie's life.
8 years. I'm 30 years old now, even older.
It's every day is another year, Cassie. You just wake up. What year is it?
But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So an interesting range of stories there.
Yeah.
So we're very sorry to hear that, Jonas, but I think we can cheer you up by talking about our favorite.
Titties.
Yeah, talking about fan service and how good fan service is in anime and how much we love fan service.
I want to actually start off this. Can I start this off?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Go for it.
I have one thing in terms of fan service specifically that I can talk about that comes to mind whenever I hear fan service, really. And that is the one case for me comes to mind where fan service has been fantastic use to a story. And that's the Monogatari series.
Kill the Kill? No,
not. I haven't seen Kill la Kill. Kill la Kill is one of those where I hear quite often as well. But the Monogatari series is that for me. Because a lot of the fan service in the Monogatari series is not just fan service to be fan service. It's really a lot of fan service that characterizes that person. Like, for example, when you watch Kanbaru and Araragi interact in her first arc, the fan service isn't just there to please the viewer, although it might seem like that at first. It's very much there to characterize, like, Kanbaru's sexuality, because she's a lesbian. Spoilers, sorry.
She says that in, like, her first episode, though, doesn't she?
I know, but still. I don't know. Some people think that's a spoiler.
She's always way more up on Araragi than any of the girls in that series.
She doesn't care about him seeing her naked, and that's like the one thing. The same kind of goes for Senjougahara. Senjougahara, the first arc of Senjougahara is very much about her finding her self-worth. Like, she doesn't value her body in the first episode, and that's why she lets Araragi in and just changes completely in front of him. That kind of stuff is what I'm talking about. And I think that's a way to use fan service really well. And I fucking love that about Monogatari.
Yeah. There's some parts of Monogatari that, like, I would agree with you on some. Not all parts.
Not all. There are parts that are just fan service.
Like the toothbrush scene. I'm not quite sure what value...
I don't have an interpretation for that, sadly.
I'm really not quite sure what character development that toothbrush scene adds, other than potential legal cases for, like, for incest and stuff. I mean, I assume it's illegal in Japan. So, other than that, no. But you are right. Like, fan service is not across the board a bad thing. It can be used well. Kill la Kill had a lot of fun with fan service. And I've seen it equally argued that Kill la Kill has the most and the least, like, important, like, use of fan service in anime. I'm trying to think exactly what it was.
I mean, from how I see it,
someone was arguing that there's a trope called Baby Got Backstory, which is where a character is sexualized and then the writer gives them a reason for being sexualized. And then this was going around when Quiet was all the rage from Metal Gear Solid 5, because they come up with really fucking stupid reasons why she's wearing fuck all. And I saw people arguing, wait, is Kill la Kill this to the maximum or not the opposite of this? Like, is the entire story in service of having, like, does the entire story exist to allow for the fan service? Or does the fan service enable the entire story? It's such an interesting duality of, like, what am I watching is basically the main theme of Kill la Kill.
It's kind of, I haven't seen Kill la Kill. It's from what I heard. Like, you obviously heard people a lot talking about, like, how the fan service is a lot of the times metaphor for, like, I'm not sure what exactly it was. That's just what I heard about it. It's one of those shows that I find really interesting that I need to get around to. Because, like, it's such a hotly debated topic.
It is. Kill la Kill, definitely. If Kill la Kill's done nothing for the anime community, it might not have saved it, but it sparked a lot of debate.
I mean, not really like the anime community needs saving, really. I fucking hate that remark.
I would disagree.
But you have terrible taste, so...
Oh! Let's get into that later.
Okay.
Another podcast later. Like when we talk about
the
our
podcast
favorite...
where we sit and talk about how shit taste everyone is.
Yeah, so we have a podcast on the planet.
We should make one podcast where everyone just introduces all of their favorite shows, and we all just shit talk each other.
Oh, that'd be great.
That's a good idea.
That would be me.
that could be like a 5-man podcast at least, dude.
Yeah,
that's gonna take ages though. Like top 10 shows for everyone. We're gonna go through 50 shows.
Well, I don't know if it'd be like top 10.
Yeah.
I don't think it would have to be.
Top 5 or something.
I'd go swinging so hard in that episode.
Oh yeah, I'd be mentioning K-On! And we'd fucking argue for ages.
Yeah,
oh man, that could get hot.
It'd be half an hour of K-On! And everyone would come out, all the hosts would come out of that podcast with an opinion on K-On!, whether they've watched it or not, either loving it or hating it.
I hope loving.
I like that idea. Put that in the doc.
Yeah, group rumble, favorite anime.
We should make that like the 50th, like I don't know. We should
make
that like a really big episode.
A benchmark. Yeah. Well, I mean,
50th
at the rate
episode.
we're going,
Half a year.
At the rate we're going, we'll hit 50 pretty soon.
I mean,
it'll be like the Gate episode, except everyone.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm trying to think of a really good starting off place for talking about like sexuality. Sexuality is a huge topic. It's also a really, really prevalent topic, because when I've been saying that I think the vast majority of anime characters are sexually repressed. However, the vast majority of anime are sexual in one way or another. Unless they're are marketed towards children, any anime marketed towards adults, it is very rare for them not to have some form of sexuality in it. Even Grimgar.
Grimgar was very much like for Grimgar, I very much blame the source material for the sexuality focus. The sexuality focus was by far.
I didn't think Grimgar was that bad.
It wasn't bad, but it had
regard. It was terrible in that regard, really. It was the one thing that really made me. It's the one thing I really disliked about Grimgar.
Really? I didn't really think it even had that much focus. Really, there was like a couple ass shots.
I mean, for once, there was a decent amount. There was some visual fan service, but I think what mostly got me kind of mad was Ranta's behavior, for the most part. It's somewhat excusable if you've watched it to the end.
He was meant to be that kind of character, though. Like, he was supposed to piss you off.
I know, but it's, I don't know, it's, at the very start of the series, it's something that I genuinely just hated.
Did you see episode 2.5, the OVA? Yeah, it was expand. You don't need to see it because they just expanded the peeping scene at the bathhouse.
Oh, no,
it's like 10 minutes.
That's bad.
It was bad. But I mean, at least they cut that shit out and put it as an OVA rather than leaving it in the series.
Good. I mean, really, it's from what I heard, the light novel is way much more goes into that direction, like peeping, the sexual jokes than the the series.
In which case, I'm kind of glad they cut down on it for the anime.
Sorry?
I was just saying, in that case, I'm glad they cut down on it in the anime.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm not sure who told me this. I think it was Glenn sometime on Twitter. I think he told me that... I'm not sure if you remember this scene. Episode 5. Actually, you should remember the scene between Yume and Haru. Well, like, the genuinely super emotional scene.
The end of the episode.
Yeah.
Where she's like all wet and pushed up on him and shit.
Yeah, but basically that. Apparently, like in the anime, you know how it's like a super emotional scene and everything, and it's really, really heartfelt and everything. I fucking love that scene. In the light novel, apparently it features a quote called "Don't get a boner now."
Ah, interesting.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. That's kind of how the Grim Guide works then.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So my point is that fan service in some form or another, whether it's overtly sexual or not, because even Erased had its own version of fan service. Luckily, very little of it, but it's there. It touches almost every anime.
We should probably mention that when we say fan service, we mean sexual fan service only in this episode. by the way.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, because in that case, Erased really doesn't have much sexual fan service, if any. I'm trying to think actually if it has any. It might not. That actually just made me like it more.
The only character I can think of doing that would be like Ari, and I don't think she.
No, they didn't go anywhere near her. So
yeah.
So yeah, there are obviously exceptions. I mean, Attack on Titan is another big exception. I was really surprised that didn't have any fan service in it. Although the manga has no fan service in it, so they would have had to have invented some. But a series on that scale, you would have thought they would have put something in.
Actually, going back to Grimgar, the trainer for Haru, that was actually a pretty big... I forgot about her when we were talking. Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't so good, but everything else about it I didn't think was actually bad.
Oh no, like when we're talking about fan service in anime, Grimgar's like a very minor grade on a very large scale.
Yeah, I mean, I think like it starts out with its fan service not so nice, but it gets way better every time. Like I guess to even addressing all the stuff that Runter says, luckily. But yeah. Yeah. So fan service. I think the general theme in this in this group we have right here is that we don't seem particularly interested in fan service in our anime. Some people
I don't think
are.
It's particularly a bad thing overall, but it doesn't make me like something.
Fan service can kill my enjoyment of a series. It's the reason why, for me, Cross Ange isn't a 10 out of 10.
That show's always going to come up every time.
Yeah, it's always going to come up.
It doesn't matter what the topic is.
Yeah. Just go watch it. Go watch it, guys. It's great.
Oh my god.
I promise I will.
Yeah, so there have definitely been shows I have turned off because I just can't be asked for the fan service. I'm trying to think of an example right now.
The thing is, for fan service, it depends on how it's implemented. If it's gonna be implemented in the terms of, I'm gonna walk in on her dress, on her changing and stuff, like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
these
it's
really
like that.
incredibly overdone scenes. I'll get really annoyed.
See, that's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah.
So what made you stick with Grisea and like Grisea compared to other fan servicey anime?
Like, I would almost say that some parts of Grisea is like, I'm using Jonas's favourite word here, a deconstruction of fan service. Because it takes fan service tropes. It takes fan service tropes and the main character comments on how fucking stupid they are.
But that's not a deconstruction. That's not a deconstruction. That's being meta about it.
Okay, well,
a deconstruction would be...
Maybe that's why it was so enjoyable.
A deconstruction would be... wait, Tom. A deconstruction would be taking the fan service tropes and putting them into a realistic setting. That would be deconstruction. Whereas what you said is more...
See, the thing is,
the show itself comments on what it does, aka it's doing something on a meta level. Which is something a lot of shows
like
do nowadays.
90% of the anime community have no fucking clue what deconstruction means. I just like to say that word to make myself feel smart. That's why I hate the word so much,
because everyone keeps using it. It never makes any fucking sense.
But it is, like, that was the reason, like, episode 1 of Grisea, and episode 2 as well, just the shit that comes out of Yuji's mouth is just so on point. So on point.
Yeah, I remember.
Like, the girl,
I remember watching it.
He gets dropped into, I mean, the "why is there a stripper in my room" line is pretty much the epitome of this. Like one of the girls comes into his room and is being really inappropriate. Classic anime trope. He isn't having any of that nonsense.
Yeah, that was pretty great. I remember that.
Yeah.
It's been a while since I've seen the series,
like,
but...
yeah. So we have got to a point now where, like, anime tropes are just being ripped on by comedy anime.
It's
maybe Yuji will save anime.
It's kind of become this thing where being meta about a show has become so normal. I don't know. I think partially it's because thanks to Monogatari, even, which we were talking about earlier, because Monogatari was one of the first to do that, really. Next to something like Haruhi.
I would not say it's become like normal as in most anime are doing it, but it's definitely a rising trend. It's definitely a trend on the rise. Yeah.
I mean,
things like Konosuba as well. That's like what Konosuba is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if this was a ReZero. I haven't seen the show, is what I've heard of it. where ReZero was even being meta on being meta. Or something along those lines. That has happened before. Like, we've come to the point where we're being meta of the fact that anime is meta nowadays, and that's... Like, what the fuck is happening to the medium?
I'm just thinking, and like, anime being meta is actually a topic you can talk about on your own, because you can go into the whole, like, how every fucking anime main character these days is an otaku shut-in. So, meta is starting to become meta, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to fan service. Well, I mean, I want to wrap up fan service so we can talk about broader sexuality, like actual sexuality in anime.
Yeah.
Because fan service is not sexuality, it is sexual content. I've always considered fan service to basically be marketing. It exists for, in the very few exceptions, it exists to complement the story.
Mm-hmm.
Monogatari in some cases and Kill la Kill, arguably, being good examples.
Mm-hmm.
But in the vast majority, it is simply something that drives sales of an anime. Because I think it has to be safe to assume that fan service anime and things along those lines sell better than none in Japan.
Yeah, of course.
It has to be assumed that because
it is
by
case.
looking at the reality of what we have.
It's not very. The thing is, it's not necessarily the case. It's more that it's safer. Like, you'll always find someone that will buy this shit. It's not like the more fan service, the better you'll sell. That's not the case. It's just that it's a safe endeavor.
It's like a safety net.
Yeah. You won't lose money from it, most likely.
Okay. So yeah, let's go on to themes of sexuality, which is a interesting topic in anime because anime is so fucking all over the place with sexuality.
Yeah,
I'd say the most common themes in sexuality in anime is, in my opinion, repression. Whether or not anime would admit that, that's how I see it. What I see when I look at most anime characters are very sexually repressed people. People that don't understand sex on the fundamental level, don't understand their own sexuality, and in a lot of cases, push back on it.
This is like something that's it's become a very common trope in like the very generic anime main character. If you look at basically any light novel adaptation, you'll see that there's like almost every single main character of a light novel adaptation does not understand what sexuality is because it's just the target audience. The target audience is the one person like 14, 15 years old. They don't fucking know what sexuality is. They have a girl running at them and they'll fucking flee because they don't know what to do.
That's a very apologetic explanation of why this exists. I do think that it's the reason anime characters are written like this is because their audience can relate to it more than characters that understand sex. That's what I believe. I don't know if that's necessarily true
it's
or not.
Part of
might
the audience.
Be a more subconscious thing.
It's especially true for things that pander towards like the otaku, like the actual otaku culture, instead of like a broad audience. Things like, as I said, light novel adaptations are probably the best thing because they have the same target audience every single time. So yeah.
But I mean, I just think it's so, and this is a thing that I actually think is sad, is that in a typical anime, any character with sexual feelings is branded a pervert. And male or female, especially female. Like, if you look at a female character that expresses sexual feelings, that character is always typecast as a pervert.
Mm-hmm.
And not always the case for male characters. There are definitely more exceptions to that for male than female. But yeah, it's very similar for male characters. And I just think that's so sad because it's.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what is that saying about Japan as a cult? Like,
I mean, that's not overall wrong in general, though.
Well, of course it is. The vast majority of people on the planet have sexual feelings.
Yeah, but like people compared to girls being open about wanting to have sex compared to guys being open about wanting to have sex in general,
they're not necessarily always being open about it. Like, I'm trying to think of a good example here, and I'm not thinking of good examples. I'm thinking of bad examples. So, like, Jonas, help me out here. I'm just stuck on darkness. I'm just stuck on darkness, and it's a terrible example. It's such a bad
Darkness
example.
I was thinking about Darkness as well.
I mean, should we just talk about Darkness?
We could talk about Darkness. Darkness is it's a bit more extreme because obviously she's a fetishist.
Yeah, and it's also a satire, so you can't really. Yeah, we're talking about Konosuba, Cassie. I don't know if you didn't see Konosuba, did you, last season?
No, I didn't watch it.
Okay, there's a character called Darkness who is basically a masochist, and that's her shtick. And then there's one episode towards the. Yeah. That basically is all her character is for the first 8 episodes of that show. It's just masochist jokes. She's the worst part of that series for the first 8 episodes. And then episode 9, I mean, me and Jonas have different opinions on episode 9 of Konosuba, but the general gist of it is that she has a sexual encounter. It's pretty much the first time sexuality is brought up in that series. And she is clearly into it, but tries to tell herself not to. Anyway,
it's a bit rapey in a way.
In a way, yes. There is clearly consent there.
There may be, but it's
I would argue
incredibly. It still felt. I felt incredibly uncomfortable watching it.
Yeah,
so,
I think some people would. I definitely think some people would.
It's just not my type.
But the point is. I mean, even looking at that scene, of course, it's the masochist character. Of course, it's the fetishized character that has the sexual interaction. I mean, I guess that is the point to look at, rather than looking at the character herself. I'm completely blanking on examples.
I think I'm kind of agree with Cassie here because it's not.
Well, I just think that
just an anime.
Specifying females in general.
Yeah, it's not just anime.
Because
it's
in general, gender, there are different opinions, especially in sexual themes, ideas, or whatever, for each gender. Like, that's not a Japan thing. You can't blame Japan for that.
Yeah, the thing is just that Japan is much more oppressive about sexuality in general. Japan doesn't talk about sexuality much at all.
Cassie, would you? I don't. I don't know if this would ever happen, but if this did happen, Cassie, let's go hypothetical. You and a female friend of yours are talking about sexual topics. Okay, that's pretty much the premise.
Okay.
Would you then, either of you, think of yourselves, wow, we're perverted for talking about this?
Well, what's the topic?
I don't know, something pretty vanilla. Something normal.
No, probably not.
Something normal. A date or something. You know what I mean? No, of course you wouldn't. Of course you wouldn't. Because in the West, I mean, media fucking does most of this work for us, but in the West we're taught that there isn't anything wrong with sexuality.
Yeah, I don't know if I entirely agree with that.
Dating's not really branded as perverted in anime either. It's more once it really gets into explicit sexual territory. That's where people get branded as perverts most of the part, or even interest in a female body. So let's say it that way, or in the other genders.
Yeah. That's also true. That is also true.
How
many times have we seen a guy? Yeah, how many times have we seen a male character in an anime doing something as innocent as checking out a woman and getting absolutely fucking railroaded for it?
Too often, sadly.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely, even among Western culture, there's different opinions on whether or not it's okay to check out a woman. I think most people would agree that's just a part of life, and I think most women would agree that they spend a lot of time looking at dudes too. But it's definitely that is a really common trope. That's a really common trope. If a male is even suspected of having a sexual thought in an anime, they are branded a pervert and usually punished for it. It's just something that kind of grates on my nerves because personally, it would just make it a lot more inclusive to me if anime was more sexually liberal. I'm someone who is quite sexually liberal. I'll talk about sexual topics with anyone, but it just kind of feels like I don't know. I feel if you watch enough of those type of shows, you kind of get a picture in your head that if I feel like if I went to Japan, then I would be looked down upon for the things that I say and talk about. And while that may or may not be true, that's kind of an opinion that I've formed like a pearl in my mind over the years of watching the way that anime characterizes sexuality as perverted. So I definitely think it's something to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of... I'm kind of the opposite to you, really. I mean, that's probably also why I felt very uncomfortable watching that kind of scene. So, I wouldn't say I can identify with how sexuality is portrayed in anime. That's not how it is, but I don't mind it, I guess. I don't mind it as much as you do. That said, whenever it is portrayed properly, I usually do like it more than when it is like...
Yeah, so should we talk about good examples now?
I think we should.
Okay. Some of my favorite examples of sexuality is... there has been some series where... I'm actually thinking of two really fucking different series right now. I'm thinking of the Cavalry anime, and I'm thinking of Golden Time, which both have the theme of the two characters get into a relationship very early in, and then kind of explore sexual themes together. Now, Golden Time takes it a lot more seriously than Cavalry, but Cavalry does actually, in my opinion, do some good things there. Jonas, have you seen what have you seen of either of these? Cassie, I don't think you've seen either.
I haven't seen either.
I've seen none of Cavalry, and I've seen a bit of Golden Time. Not much though.
Okay, so this is just story time for me then.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll
Is
talk
Cavalry
about
bad overall? I feel like that might be one of the ones I heard people talk about, and it was fucking terrible.
It's not good, but it's...
Yes and no.
It might not be, but...
I'd actually say yes and no. It is both bad and good. Okay, bad, it's a high school battle, it's a battle school anime where the main character's OP. Mm-hmm. Good is it does a lot of very interesting things that you don't see any of in that genre whatsoever. Very fan servicey though. There's very sloppy tits in that anime. And I mean sloppy as in that's the sound they make. They sound like someone's getting like wet bags of wet bags of water and just smacking them together. Like, holy shit.
It sounds like Schwarzenegger to me.
Sounds like a dude just punching a steak or something.
That's about as realistic as it gets.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, Jonas, you've definitely got some examples you want to talk about. So I'll talk about mine. Looking onto yours. Yeah, you talked about work by a certain person.
Oh, Taka Koshimura. I can't remember. Yeah. It's not really about sexuality itself, she doesn't really talk as much about sexuality herself as she does talk about homosexuality and transsexuality.
We'll go on to that as well then. That's
we might have to talk about that a little later, but especially Wandering Sun does feature some quite a bit of sexuality as well, actually, because it's a lot for...
I have put that in my old wish list, and I'm going to order it soon, because you talk about it so highly.
It's one of my favorite things of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's on my reading list. I decided I'm going to read the manga.
Yeah, that's what I've got.
Cassie, if you want to have a think, if you can think of any examples.
The manga's expensive as hell, by the way. It's like $20 per volume. And it's basically out of print, so good luck getting it.
That's the problem I came across, was actually most of the volumes I could get, but I think it was the second and fourth.
Yeah, I have the exact same problem.
We're not available.
Actually, I think I have the second one. I'm trying to get the third and fourth right now. I mean, everything afterwards.
Okay, for me, when I looked it up, I put the first one on my order list, and then I was like, oh, the second one isn't here. I'm sure it'll come up eventually.
But yeah, Wandering Sun does actually thematize it, and it does talk about it, and it's one of those things, it's about growing up, really. The entire manga is about growing up.
Yeah.
And it does that quite well. As in also, for example, it kind of shows the well, it doesn't really necessarily show it, but it it kind of thematizes, for example, the first time he masturbates, etc., that kind of stuff. That's also what it talks about. Or another thing that I can mention is Yasumi Punpun, where very early on it gets very, very clear that they are going to talk about sexuality also through the topic of masturbation. Which is quite interesting because that in itself is actually something that's really almost never talked about in anime, is it?
Yeah, that's not a topic that's really common at all.
I don't believe
it's referenced. It is referenced. There's a lot of porn in people's rooms.
Yeah,
so it's indirectly referenced, but they never really go into detail about it.
Yeah.
And it's always seen.
It's always kind of like
porn in someone's room is always seen as a bad thing.
Yeah, basically. But yeah, like those two are both are things that I highly recommend. By the way, really, really good coming of age stories. I can't really think of anything else right now. Maybe I'll come up with something again. Who knows?
Okay. Well, I'll talk about what my shows. So this is spoilers for Golden Time. Yeah, this is actually going to be relatively spoilerish for Golden Time, but I can't not talk about it. I'm not spoiling the biggest things in Golden Time. I'm spoiling the sexual things in Golden Time.
All right, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but there's a lot of Golden Time has a story. It's that goes places, has arcs, and I'm not going to be spoiling any of that. But so the main character and Coco, the love interest, get into a relationship very early on in Golden Time. I think episode 2 or 3, and they start off by saying that they want their first time to be special. And they say that they want to have sex for the first time in Paris. And that's like a big theme. Like the Eiffel Tower is... basically, the Eiffel Tower is a visual representation for sex in Golden Time. As the story progresses, they realize that they realize that they want to have sex way more than they want to go to France. And there's a really fucking nice scene where Coco, the girl... makes an Eiffel Tower out of clay and brings it around to his apartment.
That's brilliant.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. It is one of my... I'm not going to say where things go from there. You'll have to watch. But
I need to watch this. That sounds great.
That is one of the sweetest... And that is romanticizing sex. And I absolutely adore it. It's one of the reasons why Golden Time is like one of my it's like top 3. It's like my favorite anime contender. It's because it romanticizing sex, and that is something that's so rare in anime. Cavalry is I didn't get to I know they go more into sexuality later on, but I haven't finished it, so I can only talk about what's in the first half of the series, which is basically 2 very repressed characters awkwardly exploring sexuality together. Yeah. That's kind of what's going on in Cavalry.
That's what I heard as well, basically.
Yeah, which again is kind of cool to watch. It's kind of cool to watch how it goes, because a lot of characters in anime are sexually repressed, and actually seeing them unwind that is pretty interesting. It's just a shame it has constant and kind of gross fan service just undermining the entire thing. It is not a perfect example. If you want a really good example of sex done well in anime, watch Golden Time. Cavalry is interesting, but it is not a perfect example.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's kind of funny, like how much we're struggling to find examples. It already shows like how few things there really are. I'm looking through my list through my list right now. And I'm seeing all of these shows that have like some kind of thing about romance, etc., but nothing special that really stands out. I have one thing actually that I'm watching right now that talks a shit ton about sexuality, and that is Utena. I think that should be a relatively obvious answer.
I've heard of it. I have no idea what it is though. You
don't know? Yeah, okay, Utena is the worst.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it a lot.
Yeah, it's one of the most experimental things to come out of anime. Really, I think.
Oh,
one of the most experimental things. It's one of the most thematically dense shows I've ever seen. Let's say it that way. And a lot of its themes are in sexuality. It talks about homosexuality. It talks about incest. It talks about sexuality in itself. It talks about even gender identity and things like that. It's like one of those. It's a show that is. It's hard to really talk about Utena for me because I haven't finished the show, and I'm still trying to make myself up, making my mind up on it. But it's a fantastic show overall. I'm just not sure how much I like it, how much I enjoy it. But yeah, it's one thing that if you want sexuality, it doesn't explicitly talk about it. It doesn't like mention sex, etc. But there are, for once, very heavy homosexual undertones to it. It's one of the first to do that, really. Especially in the movie that comes after the series. And a lot of sexuality does come up. So, yeah. I highly recommend the series. It's like one of the very, very, very few series that I would really say everyone that is relatively deep into anime should have seen Utena at one point in their life. It's like one of those shows next to things like Evangelion that are just so big and so influential, or Monogatari maybe even, that you should have seen them at some point in your life. But yeah.
I've just been looking through my list and I have two things I want to bring up. Cassie, I want to let you into this though, if you've got something to talk about. I think your field of expertise here is visual novels.
Actually, the only thing with that I was actually thinking of in terms of sexuality, and I don't even know if it's really a great example, and I know you didn't like it for a fact, but it's one of the manga that I actually have. And I like the way it explored a lot of things. The anime I only watched about half of. Say I Love You. It's got a really shitty premise and it's super shoujo.
I hate Say I Love You.
I know you do.
I hate the reason I hate Say I Love You, I actually have to admit that there is one character, the one of the girls, the one with scarring.
Is it the like anorexic one with the she is all that?
Very interesting. She is by far the best thing about that series. But the main character, I think
a lot of the characters are interesting once you get into them. Like the starting premise is really shitty. It's like, the completely average girl runs into the super handsome guy and he takes interest in her.
It's not the premise that I disagree with in that series. It's that basically the male character in that series is borderline abusive to his girlfriend. Not physically or sexually, but emotionally.
How?
He just completely fucking neglects her and doesn't give a shit about what she feels.
If you get more into it,
maybe. I only watched the anime. He is an absolute piece of garbage.
I haven't really watched much of the anime because I hate how things get condensed, but...
He is an absolute piece of garbage and she is a fucking doormat. Like, they are both terrible fucking characters. She has no agency in her life whatsoever. She's a complete doormat. I fucking can't stand characters like that. It's such a weak female character. And he is just an absolute all-round piece of garbage.
So yeah, I never got that.
Like, I just walked away from the anime thinking those two pieces of shit deserve each other.
Oh, damn.
No, the reason I liked it so much is that it's still it's super young people, but I felt like it kind of explored emotions rather well. It brings in all those side characters like the one you spoke about, and it kind of gives their stories and their feelings in that, and yeah, it goes into sexual topics, and I don't know if it's in the most mature way, but I think it deals with them kind of realistically in a lot of ways. Most of the time. Not always, but most of the time.
Like I say, I've only seen the anime and I have a very negative opinion of it. I think Say I Love You is one of the series I actually genuinely hate the most. And it's not even something that I can get mad about. It's just I really disagree with how characters in that series are written. I think
I kind of want to go through it again now, and I'm going to pull out specific examples and be like, that's not true. I might do that.
Maybe. But like I say, I've only seen the anime. Maybe the manga is not as bad. Maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't get into the anime at all. I've got the first 10 volumes of the manga, and I really liked it. And I started watching the anime, and it was kind of just... It felt condensed, and I don't know, it just wasn't great. But I feel that way about a lot of mangas that I read if I try and watch the anime, so...
Another one that just came to mind for me. I'm not sure if you've seen this one, but it's Akunohana. Relatively...
Oh, is that the rotoscoped anime?
Yeah, it is. It's a very controversial show.
I'm interested in it.
It's very... I really like it. It's very, very uncomfortable to watch overall. But it's a really, really interesting series.
Is that because of the animation style or because of the topics?
I think the topics are the main thing that make it uncomfortable, but the animation style very much contributes to that as well. That's why I like the look of the show so much.
Yeah.
Because the rotoscoping makes this entire series so much more uncomfortable. It's the good kind of uncomfortable, not the Konosuba kind of uncomfortable for me.
I mean, I haven't actually watched that show.
Yeah, it's kind of like I remember watching the show and having to pause like every 5 seconds because I was very.
That's like me watching cringe humor, like watching British cringe humor TV shows. Like me watching The Inbetweeners is just me pausing every 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's
regaining my composure and going forward.
It's like because Aku no Hana is very much like one of the characters very much it consists of trying to make our main character uncomfortable, and like the premise behind her, it's a bit of a spoiler, but comes out relatively early, so yeah, the entire premise behind her is making him into a pervert. Because I'm not sure if you know the premise behind the show, like the actual synopsis.
No, go for it.
The guy basically accidentally steals the swimsuit of his crush and takes it home. He and it kind of becomes popular within the school that someone stole that girl's swimsuit, and he's becoming incredibly anxious about all of this.
Throw it in the river, dude.
Yeah, but
fucking bury it.
He tries to do that, but he can't. And like Nakamura, like so the character I was just talking about, she's a bit of a psychopath, really. But she comes off as a psychopath. She sees him as he takes it away, and she blackmails him with it. And from there on, she tries to make him into a pervert, and it's incredibly uncomfortable to watch.
That is not at all what I would have expected that show to be, based on looking at like artwork.
I know. It's a really, really, really odd show, but I think it's very much worth a watch. Like, give it a shot at least.
That's quite interesting. That's quite interesting.
Yeah.
I've got some shows I want to talk about. Like, I'm just going through my mal and like finding examples I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. Shout out to Panty and Stocking for having a slut character.
I've not seen it.
That's important. That is important. Panty and Stocking, and of course, Panty and Stocking is the most westernized anime probably ever made. However, Panty literally sleeps with dudes every episode.
Mm-hmm.
And like she is called, and she's like a proud slut. She loves it. She absolutely fucking loves it. Whether or not Panty and Stocking is an important piece of fiction, at the very least, they wrote a character who is sexually active and very comfortable with it. So shout out to Panty and Stocking. Oh yeah, I want to talk about. So this is going to get a little heavy. One of these anime I'm going to talk about is heavier than the other, but I want to talk about Berserk and Cross Ange, and I want to talk about rape.
I've not seen Berserk. Please don't spoil Berserk for me.
I'm not gonna. Well, I mean,
I know that. I know that rape happens. I've heard of that. I don't want to have it spoiled though. It's like one of the series where
there is things I'm not going to talk about. Then I was going to talk in more detail about Berserk because there are good and bad sides too.
Is this like what you talked about before when we brought it up in an earlier podcast, and you went to like how dark it was and that?
Yeah, I can't really go into detail then. If Jonas really doesn't want it spoiled, I can't go into detail. So I'll talk more about Cross Ange then. Cross Ange handles rape.
Sell me on it some more, Tom.
I'm not sure this is going to sell it. There is lesbian rape in Cross Ange. That happens quite early on. It's kind of how the character... It's how the... I have to say Angie now, which is annoying. It's how Angie is broken down and introduced into this world, you know. Jonas, you watched this much at least because we talked about it on Twitter like a year ago. And I think a lot of people took issue with the fact that like the rape scene and characters being killed off very early, they were they saw it as forced character development, very forced.
That wasn't really my complaint. My complaint was that the show
it might not have been yours. I can't remember.
My complaint with the show was mainly that they developed the character through this, and like it's an incredibly unsubtle way to do it.
Cross Ange is not subtle,
and the show kind of always went back to how it was before. Like, there's this one time a character dies, I think it was episode 4 or 5. A character no one gave a fuck about, quite frankly. And Angie is kind of hits up by it. Like, she kind of gets really mad about that.
Yeah.
She had to die.
Because the reason Angie got torn up was because it was directly her fault. Like, that character died because of her actions. She tried to run away, and that character died because of that. Not because she knew them.
That's kind of where it seemed like the show would finally move forward, and I quite liked that. Like, that's why I thought I might like this show. But, like,
you need to get to the island episode, dude.
Right after, the show just goes completely back to how she was before. And nothing has changed, and that was what pissed me off a lot.
By the end of the series, Angie is a very, very different character.
I figured.
She goes through. She goes through an arc. She starts off as a sullen teen. Then she kind of becomes. I'm trying to think what she kind of becomes in the middle, but she definitely becomes something else. And then she ends the series as like a triumphant hero.
Mm-hmm.
She kind of becomes like, she kind of just becomes one of the girls, like one of those girls.
Yeah,
like
I figured that would be the case.
She is.
I figured that would be the case from the very start, but I just didn't like the way they did it.
She then goes beyond that. She then goes beyond that to become like this liberator, this like heroic figure. But yeah, like the main villain in Cross Ange, I've described as the god of rape. That's pretty much what he is. It's not very direct rape. It's very like Kilgrave rape from Jessica Jones, where he makes you want it. So it's not as uncomfortable and as horrific as Berserk rape.
That really, but it still makes me incredibly uncomfortable. Like, just, I've not seen it, but just hearing it already makes me incredibly uncomfortable.
It is. It isn't.
Is that what it's supposed to do, though?
Yeah, it absolutely is.
I guess.
He is a very uncomfortable character. He is a very, he's a very odd character, to be perfectly honest. He's also called Embryo. I want to throw that out there. Again, Cross Ange is not subtle.
Yeah.
But yeah, there is also a romance between Ange and a male character that is quite sweet and quite sexually explored. I mean, it kind of has to be, because he witnesses her being subjected to quite a lot of stuff, and he's totally okay with it. And another thing I just want to point out about that is that he is 100% okay, but with being the support character. He is this like military figure that is like, he worships Ange. He's 100% behind her revolution. He just wants to like help her out in any way he can. And, you know, he doesn't judge her for any of the things she does or anything like that. He completely accepts her for who she is. And the romance is actually, in my opinion, one of the strongest parts of that series.
Okay.
Not very subtle though. Cross Ange is good, but it's not subtle.
I kind of tend to like these very low-key subtle shows more.
Yeah, Cross Ange is really in your face.
Yeah.
Like, themes. It's hitting you in the face with them.
I'll have to.
It's a shame
I'll probably have to come back to the show sometime. I'm not sure when, but I'll probably come back to it at one point.
It picks up hard, like episode 5. Episode 5 is when it picks up and then it keeps going. Like, episodes 1 to 4 are a slog to get through. But it's when she crash lands on the island and she meets the boy, it fucking skyrockets from there. Like, I was so close to dropping it, but when I got to that episode, I was hooked, start to finish.
Alright. Yeah, I think that's actually where I stopped it. Stopped watching it, that episode.
Yeah, no, it will have hit.
I was planning to finish it, actually. I was not deliberately dropping it. I was planning to finish it, but just putting it on hold for now because I wasn't interested at that time.
Yeah, I might make it like one of my watches or something for the podcast.
That might be a good idea. Maybe
just because I would like an excuse to rewatch it, to be honest.
You should do that, and then I'll actually, have to watch it.
Do we have anything else? I've got one more thing to talk about, really.
I don't.
I don't know if I really have anything to put in as a thing.
I have one thing that we can maybe mention really quick, and that's Haruchika.
Oh yeah, well let's. I remember exactly what I wanted. Another topic. Let's talk about homosexuality.
Oh yeah, that's exactly what I was just going to bring up. Haruchika last season.
Yeah.
I've not seen Haruchika further than episode 2. The twist in Haruchika is that the main male is homosexual, and it gets brought up at the end of episode 1. And it just it's used as this big twist for once, which I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that. I think it works all right. I've seen people call it homophobic because it's so it's made up to be a big deal, etc. I'm not sure if I agree with that. The show overall was just bad, so.
I mean, if there's an anime that handles homophobia, handles homosexuality, and it isn't instantly distinguishable as being homophobic, then that's a step forward because
Aoihana
90%.
Aoihana.
I would almost say that every single homosexual character I have seen in anime has been
a joke.
Watch
a homophobic.
Watch Aoihana.
Yeah.
Aoihana is
yeah.
I'm going to bring her up again. Takako Shimura. It's her second work after Wandering Son. I've not read the manga. I've seen the show though. It's really just a take on lesbian romance. It's a shoujo anime technically, but it's
so it's like Sakura Trick.
No. I have to admit,
I think you actually heard about that one.
I enjoy Sakura Trick way more than I should have, but Aoihana is fantastic show. It's basically a show about lesbian romance, and it's really, really well handled gay characters, and it's probably the only time I've seen well handled gay characters. That was really just in.
I think lesbians get a way easier time in anime in general than gays do. Yeah.
But that's just because it's more fetishized.
It definitely, 100%. It is you can market a show as Yuri. You can't market a show as gay. Well, no, that's not true. Different audience, I suppose. There's definitely I completely forgot about that. But yeah, so I guess homosexuality on both sides is fetishized. But you do get Yuri characters in shows that's
in the average harem.
Shout out to Fake Eyeliner.
I'm trying to think of a good example of I think Kanbaru from Monogatari is a really good example.
Kanbaru is really good example. That's a good point.
There are more, and they're just not coming to my mind. That's the most annoying thing.
I think. Let's talk about Kanbaru for a second. Let's talk about Kanbaru for a second, because Kanbaru is one of my favorite characters in general. She's my favorite.
She's one of my favorite Monogatari characters.
She's my favorite Monogatari character, and she's up there, and probably one of my favorite characters overall as well, because the characters in Monogatari in general are just fantastic.
I think for once, I actually might say I like Araragi an awful lot. For like a male character,
Araragi is a fantastic main character.
He is.
I think he's basically the best main character I've ever seen in a harem show. Well, to be fair,
well, I think to be fair, I'm not 100% sure you can call Monogatari. Ostensibly, it's a harem.
It's very.
You could argue that it's not. You could definitely argue that it's not a harem.
Yeah, the structure in itself is very harem-esque, or at least very light novel-esque. And light novel always kind of go, in a way. Light novel very, very often goes hand in hand with harem. And it's kind of like it's very distinguishable from every other harem out there. Really, it's not the overtones of people falling in love with him are absolutely not as strong. It happens, but it's not as strong as in any other harem. And it doesn't really matter as much.
They come and go.
It
doesn't.
The main thing about
he picked his girl. He picked his girl from like the first arc.
Exactly.
And he's stuck with her since, and everyone knows that.
I mean,
he jokes about getting on with other girls, but there's no evidence that he has or would.
I don't think he'd ever do it. Really, it doesn't suit his character at all.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, the thing about Monogatari is it's not as much about Araragi as it is about the girls themselves, for the most part, until we get to Owari Monogatari. I haven't seen it yet, but...
Yeah. Oh, no, this next up on my list. I think me and you... Was the last one you watched Suki Monogatari?
Hana was the last one. Hana Monogatari. The one about...
okay.
The second one about Kanbaru.
Yeah. I watched Suki, and now I'm on Owari. No.
Yeah, I'm currently on... Like, I started rewatching Monogatari a while ago. I want to continue sometime. Because it's one of my favourite franchises out there, if not my favourite. So, yeah. But yeah, Kanbaru. The thing I like about Kanbaru so much, to go back a bit on sexuality in general, actually, is it's possibly the best take on jealousy I've ever seen in anime. Because whenever you see jealousy in anime, it's incredibly frustrating. I think
love triangles.
Yeah, love triangles.
Yeah, frustrating love triangles.
I think the one thing that comes to mind for me is 1 Week Friends. 1 Week Friends was a relatively nice show overall.
Yeah,
but
I like that show.
There was so many parts. There
were
so many parts, especially due to the main character and his jealousy towards the character. That felt...
I thought it was handled well. I actually thought it was handled well. I hated it.
I thought it was terrible. The thing about it was just that... It felt so artificial. It felt so artificial to me.
I disagree. I thought it felt quite genuine. Because, like, he was investing so much time into, like, getting this girl to like him, and then whenever she would like someone else, I think it's a really natural reaction for him to be jealous. I think he was naturally jealous, and it resolved itself pretty quickly.
I'm not sure, really. It's been a while since I've seen the show. Honestly, I don't remember as much as I probably should. But I remember being extremely frustrated with parts of the show. That was one of the very big parts. And I don't think it was...
I liked it because it was really good characterization. It was really good characterization for that male character, because it became clear that he was not doing it. He was doing what he was doing for just as much for selfish reasons as for selfless reasons. Mm-hmm. Which added a lot of depth to the series, in my opinion.
Might be.
Depth I wasn't expecting by looking at the art style and looking at the first couple of episodes.
I was kind of hoping it'll... Like, maybe I was just expecting the wrong thing, because I didn't want it to go in the direction of drama. I just wanted it to be a nice little show to watch, really.
I like drama. I quite like drama.
You know me.
So I guess that's what... Yeah. I know you, Jonas. Yeah. So I think that's where our difference lies in 1 Week Friends.
Yeah, probably.
We'll talk about Kanbaru, won't we?
Yeah, but
jealousy.
Like, I feel like she's the best take on jealousy I've ever seen. Because unlike for 1 Week Friends, it really does feel genuine, and you really can see how she feels, and you really can understand her properly. Which is something especially in love triangles. Like, we're going to talk about this in the Pet Peeves anime thing. I hate love triangles so much most of the time. There are so few love triangles in anime that are actually well done, and most of them just serve to piss me off. And Kanbaru in Monogatari is probably the best love triangle I've ever seen. Honestly, I adore it.
Well, because it's not a love triangle.
It is a love triangle. It is two people in love with the same person.
Okay, sure.
It's not actually a love triangle. It's more of a third wheel thing. It's maybe more of a third wheel thing.
Yeah, and this is ground that Western media's covered a lot, but like homosexual jealousy, being a gay character that's in love with a straight character, that's just an impossible relationship, and it's also that's the reason it's jealousy. It's safe jealousy because it's jealousy, but the viewer and the character know that nothing will ever happen, which I think is why that you like it so much, is because you know that this is not going to cause any drama between the other two.
I mean,
because...
Yeah. It kind of did really actually cause some drama between them, but...
Yeah, I mean, he got a foot through his chest. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty dramatic.
Wait, literally through his chest?
Yeah, it's like it's like one of the very few action scenes in Monogatari.
It looks amazing as well. It's one of the best action scenes.
It does. Monogatari is a supernatural series.
Yeah.
So she turns into a monkey demon and kicks the fucking shit out of him.
Yeah, he's a vampire, by the way. He's basically half vampire, or 1/10 vampire. Something on the lines.
I think it's 1/10 vampire. Yeah. That's what it was.
But yeah, Monogatari series is incredible. Please watch the Monogatari series if you haven't.
I make no promises.
Cassie's too busy drinking alone in Skyrim and playing visual novels to watch anime.
Tom, you speak too much truth. I thought you were supposed to make me moe so the viewers would pay attention.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So Cassie, we were going to record last night, but we didn't because Cassie fell asleep. So sleepiness...
No, I didn't fall asleep. I slept for about 14 hours straight.
Yeah, so... so we're adding sleepiness to Cassie's moe appeal.
I don't know how I did that. Because, like, the entire week before that, I honestly could not sleep more than 4 hours in a row a night. Like, I just kept waking up and shit. So, like, I went to bed. Well, maybe. I went to bed. It might be all the alcohol I drank, too. And I was like, yeah, no problem. I'll be up in time. Because, like, literally, every other time in the last 4 months that we've done this, I've just woken up on time. No, I was gone. I slept for forever. Literally, like...
Oh, well.
And then I woke up and I was like, holy shit.
We're recording now, so it's not that much harm done. Yeah, so let's go back to homosexuality. I'm trying to think exactly what point I want to make now that we haven't already made.
It's kind of... I think
there's not much in anime?
Yeah, there's really not
pretty
much.
That's the problem I've had with thinking of things for this episode, is that just I haven't seen much. It doesn't exist a whole lot. Like,
yeah, it is. We're talking about very few anime here, aren't we?
Yeah.
Mature themes are just kind of hard to get.
I mean, they're everywhere, but not in terms of sexuality. Like, there's so many mature shows. I mean, but most of them just don't talk about sexuality. That's the problem.
I definitely would say that I think homosexuality getting a more serious take in anime is probably the thing I want to see the most. Just because more than like anime getting its shit together, that just really bums me out. The fact that if a gay character is in this series, he's either a joke or a pervert is
and
really
that's
depressing.
One thing too. Like in the West, that is actually something that has been taken seriously and done well, so many times.
Yeah,
but never in anime.
Japan is just such a homophobic culture in general. Sadly.
Yeah. Okay. So, what's our last talking point going to be? I'm sure we can find like one more thing. Sexuality, fan service. We talked about all of this.
What I can bring up.
How about we just completely? Okay, go on.
Gatchaman Krauts.
You got something?
Gatchaman Krauts. Gatchaman Krauts doesn't actually talk about sexuality. Well, I'm not sure if it talks about sexuality. There's one character in Gatchaman Crowds that's basically a drag queen. He's male, basically drag queen, as I said. Probably it looks like he's gay. It's never specified. The thing I like about him is that the show never really cares about it. Like the show just treats him normally. It doesn't do... That's actually something that's, by the way, somewhat prevalent in Cavalry as well. The show has a transgender character that's just treated as a normal person. And in Gatchaman Crowds, it's... this.
I've mentioned that.
Oh, okay, I've not heard that, sorry. In Gatchaman Crowds, it's kind of the same.
It's fine, dude. I don't listen to the podcast either.
So yeah, Gatchaman Crowds is... like, Gatchaman Crowds in itself is an incredible series. And that's like one small aspect of it I quite like, actually. It has this really odd these few really odd characters, like both the villain and that character are both drag queens, and no one ever mentions it. It's just completely taken as granted and completely normal. And that's something I would actually kind of like to see more of. That's like...
Is that kind of like how every character in JoJo is gay, but no one talks about it?
Kind of, yeah. I've not seen JoJo.
I have not seen JoJo. That's just... Yeah. But that's what I assume by looking at everything I see.
To the people watching, tell Tom what JoJo is.
Yeah, what is JoJo? What is JoJo? I'm just going to keep guessing until I get it right.
But yeah, that's like kind of the thing that comes to mind for me when talking about Gatchaman Crowds, because it's one of my favorite shows out there.
I know exactly what I want to bring up for the last thing. Kokoro Connect, Inaba.
Oh.
Inaba in Kokoro Connect is the closest thing I have to a best girl in anime. Although the way I approach best girl in anime is that if I don't personally think Inaba is my best girl, but if she isn't yours, then I'm going to get angry at you. That's the way I do it.
Yuri's the best. And I'm literally the one person that says that. I've never met a single person.
No, I think I've heard someone else say that.
Wow.
Oh, it might have been you. It might have been you. I can't remember.
I mean, I've said it yesterday,
but
so maybe remember that.
That is a high school character actively exploring her own sexuality throughout the course of that series. Mm-hmm. That's all I want to say. That's what makes that show brilliant. Like, that show is okay. Is okay. But Inaba makes it great.
I'm not entirely sure, but I think that love triangle in general does kind of have that. Yuri, I think, in a way as well. Doesn't she? I mean, Yuri's entire character is based on the fact that she feeds everything into herself and tries to make it seem happy. Like that's basically Yuri's entire character. I think, like, it's not specifically mentioned, but I think in herself, like, it's kind of there as well. It's been a while since I've seen it, but like that's kind of how I remember it.
Yeah, in terms of sexuality, so redhead girl was sexually assaulted.
Yeah.
And
okay, best girl.
And yeah, Inaba kind of just explores it. Mm-hmm. Like, she is the most sexual character on that series. Which is actually another great point. She is the most sexual character in that series. More than the guys. She is more...
True.
Like, that's that. I mean, the scene, like, the scene everyone knows from Kokoro Connect is her telling the main character that she's masturbated to him too, and then putting on the biggest troll face in anime history. Which is brilliant. That really opened my eyes. I was like, wow, that is like the one fucking line I was not expecting. And yeah, I mean, I think that caught the audience and the character completely off guard. Like, we do not expect a female character in anime to be confident in her sexuality.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the reason why she is a fantastic character and she should be your best girl.
She's not, though. Sorry.
Yeah, but Jonas, I've given up on you already, to be honest, mate. Yeah, okay.
Can't wait until this fucking best taste episode comes out.
Oh, man.
Jonas is gonna leave us after it.
And I'm gonna make Tom leave us, alright.
It's gonna be, we should call it Anime Abroad Civil War. I can imagine.
It just like it has to be like an encouraged, no holds bars. Everyone is shit talking as much as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I think that about does it.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we actually we talked for an hour and a half about this. We were worried that we were going to struggle to find anything to talk about.
Well,
but
I didn't say much. My apologies.
Yeah, that's a bit sad, but
I thought maybe I'd get into the topic more, but yeah, no, I haven't seen enough because there isn't a whole lot. I don't know, and I also don't hold issue with it most of the time.
I mean, I don't actively hold issues with it. It's more like whenever I think about it,
I think I'm the person who gets the most.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah, Tom, you pointed out a lot.
Yeah.
So.
For me, as I said, it's kind of, I don't really necessarily take issue with it. It's more of a thing where, like, when I think about it, I would love to see this more explored more often, but I don't actively hate the fact that it's
I would love a more mature take on it, yeah.
Sorry?
But, yeah. I said, like, I'd like a more mature take on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But as it stands right now, it's just like, that's okay.
Yeah, I kind of understand.
Whatever. As long as it doesn't overtake, like, the story. Usually I'm just watching for, like, what's going on. If this show is entirely fan service, it'd be like, probably gonna drop it.
High School DxD, the most sexual of any anime.
So yeah, I don't generally start watching shows like that because they don't initially appeal to me.
Yeah.
If High School DxD initially appeals to you, have a wank. That's all I have to say. and then you'll look at it again and you'll be like, oh, no, it's all right. High School DxD is that porn that you immediately feel shame after finishing. Like... Yeah, that's pretty much what it is.
This wrap-up just went way better than the rest of the podcast.
I regret not making more sex jokes, but I wanted to keep this this more of a serious discussion. No, that's why I'm going to keep that serious. Yeah. Okay, well, thank you for listening to another episode of the Anime Abroad podcast. You've been joined by Tom, Cassie.
See you next time.
And Jonas.
Bye.
Alright, see you next time, guys.
Oh, wait, 1 second.
What?
We have a Discord chat, guys. We should probably advertise this. We made a Discord chat. The link is going to be down below in the description. If that link is expired...
Famous people are on it, guys.
Yeah, we have famous people on
while
here.
While we've been recording this podcast, about 100k worth of subs are in general. So, yeah. Oh well.
Yeah.
One day that'll be us.
One day.
Hey, we contribute 120 some to that.
To that 100,000. Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, there's going to be a link down in the description. If that link is expired or anything, please message us on Twitter. You can find our Twitter in the description as well. Yeah,
get in touch with us. Reach out to us. We will reply. We will bring you into our Discord chat. There's like 40 people in our Discord chat.
Even if you hate us, you can talk to the people you actually like.
Yeah.
Although if you hate us, you're probably not listening to this much of the actual episode.
Probably not. Yeah. But anyway.
Okay, well let's just do a hard cut because we already did the goodbyes.
All right. Goodbye.